Dr. Kim Nari stepped off the transport ship and looked around Research Station Harmony. The metal walls gleamed under bright lights, and the air tasted clean but artificial. She carried her research bag and a small suitcase containing everything she owned. After 3 months of travel through space, she was finally here. Captain Park Hyen waited for her at the docking bay. He was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. His uniform was perfectly clean, and his boots made sharp sounds. On the metal floor, as he walked toward her, "Welcome to Harmony Station, Dr. Kim," he said. His voice was formal, but not unfriendly. "I hope your journey was comfortable." Nari bowed slightly. "Thank you, Captain. I'm ready to begin my work." "Good. Let me show you to your quarters first, then we will discuss your research project." As they walked through the station corridors, Nari could see the planet below through large windows. Kepler 442b looked beautiful from space. Green forests covered most of the land, and blue oceans sparkled in the sunlight. It seemed peaceful, but Nari knew better. This planet held one of the most dangerous creatures humans had ever encountered. Her quarters were small, but comfortable. A bed, a desk, and a small bathroom were all she needed. Captain Park Hyen left her to settle in and told her to meet him in the main lab in 1 hour. The main lab was impressive. Computers lined the walls, and large screens showed data from the planet's surface. 5 other researchers worked at different stations. Captain Park Hyen introduced her to each one. Dr. Lee Daeho was the senior researcher. He had been studying the planet for 2 years. His face was serious, and he shook Nari's hand firmly. "Now, Dr. Kim, I have read your research papers. Your ideas about alien intelligence are interesting, but this creature is different. It is purely a predator." Yun Guan was the communications officer. She was young, maybe 24, with bright eyes and a friendly smile. "Nice to meet you, Dr. Kim. I have heard good things about your work." Choi Min-ho was the security chief. He was a big man with strong arms and a careful way of watching everything. "Doctor, this creature has killed 12 people in the past year. Please be very careful." Dr. Kang Sora was the medical officer. She seemed kind, but tired. "Welcome to our team, Dr. Kim. If you need anything, please ask." The last person was a junior researcher named Kim Ju-yen. He was nervous and kept looking at the screens showing the planet's surface. Captain Park Hyen activated the main display. An image appeared showing a massive creature standing near a rocky cliff. The beast was 4 meters tall with thick legs and powerful arms. Its body was covered in scales that looked like crystal. The scales changed colors as they watched, shifting from deep blue to bright green. "This is the Kelthon," Captain Park Hyen said. "The colonists named it after an old legend about a monster that ate entire villages. We've been studying it." For 18 months, Nari stared at the creature. It was indeed massive and looked very dangerous. Its teeth were sharp, and its claws could easily tear through metal. But something about its eyes caught her attention. They seemed intelligent, not like the wild eyes of a mindless beast. "What do we know about its behavior?" Nari asked. Dr. Lee Daeho stepped forward. "It is a killing machine. It attacks anything that comes near its territory. We have lost 3 survey teams to this creature. It shows no mercy and no intelligence beyond basic hunting instincts. But look at its movement." "Patterns," Nari said, pointing to the screen. "See how it pauses before changing direction. It suggests it is thinking about its actions." "It is just being careful," Dr. Lee Daeho replied. "All predators do that." Nari nodded but was not convinced. She had spent her career studying alien life forms, and something about this creature seemed different. The way it held its head, the careful way it moved, even the color changes in its scales. Everything suggested a complex mind. "I would like to observe it directly," Nari said. The room became quiet. Everyone looked at her with surprise. "That is not possible," Captain Park Hyen said. "It is too dangerous. We can only study it from a safe distance." "Captain, I understand the risks. But to truly understand this creature, I need to see how it behaves in its natural environment. I will stay far away and take all safety precautions." Choi Min-ho shook his head. "Doctor, this thing can run faster than our vehicles. If it decides to attack, there is no escape." I am not asking to get close to it, Nari explained. I just want to observe it from a hidden position. I will wear full protective gear and have constant communication with the station. Captain Park Hyon thought for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. Very well. But you will have full security support, and if anything goes wrong, you will return. Immediately, the next morning, Nari prepared for her first observation mission. She wore a protective suit that could stop small weapons and had a personal shield generator. Her equipment included cameras, recording devices, and sensors that could detect the creature from a safe distance. Choi Min-ho flew her to the planet's surface in a small aircraft. The landing site was 5 kilometers from the creature's known territory. As they flew over the landscape, Nari could see that the planet was even more beautiful up close. The forests were thick and green, and strange flowers grew everywhere. Remember, Choi Min-ho said as they landed, stay in communication every 15 minutes. If you see anything dangerous, call immediately. Nari hiked through the forest toward the creature's territory. The ground was soft under her feet and the air smelled like flowers and growing things. She found a good hiding spot behind some large rocks about 1 kilometer from where the creature was last seen. She set up her equipment and waited. For 3 hours, nothing happened. Then she heard heavy footsteps. The Kelthan appeared from behind a group of trees. Not an R held her breath. The creature was even more impressive in person. Its crystal scales caught the sunlight and threw rainbow patterns on the ground. It moved with surprising grace for something so large. But what caught her attention was what the creature was doing. It was not hunting or searching for food. Instead, it was carefully arranging stones in a pattern on the ground. The pattern was complex, with circles and lines that seemed to follow some kind of mathematical rule. The creature worked on the stone pattern for almost an hour. Sometimes it would step back and look at its work, then change a stone or add a new one. When it finished, it sat down and stared at the pattern, as if thinking deeply. This was not the behavior of a mindless killing machine. This was the behavior of an intelligent being engaged in some kind of artistic or mathematical activity. Nari recorded everything and took hundreds of photos. When the creature finally left, she approached the stone pattern carefully. Up close, she could see that it was incredibly complex. The stones were arranged in spirals and geometric shapes that reminded her of mathematical equations. She returned to the station excited about her discovery. But when she showed the recordings to the research team, their reactions were disappointing. It's just random behavior, Dr. Lee Daeho said. Animals sometimes play with objects. It means nothing. But look at the complexity, Nari argued. This pattern follows clear mathematical rules. You are seeing what you want to see, Dr. Lee Daeho replied. This creature is dangerous, and we cannot afford to think of it as anything else. Only Yoon. Giwon seemed interested in Nari's findings. After the meeting, she approached Nari privately. I think you might be right, Yoon said quietly. There was something about the way it moved. It seemed ... thoughtful. Nari felt grateful to have at least one ally. She knew that changing the minds of the other researchers would be difficult, but she was determined to prove that the Kelthan was more than just a monster. That night, she studied the photos of the stone pattern for hours. The more she looked, the more convinced she became that this was some form of communication or artistic expression. Tomorrow, she would return to observe the creature again. Little did she know that her discovery would change everything they thought they knew about the Kelthan and ultimately save all their lives. Dr. Kim Nari returned to the planet's surface the next morning with a new plan. She had spent the entire night studying the stone pattern photos and had made an important discovery. The arrangement was not random at all. It followed the same mathematical rules that described planetary orbits and gravitational forces. This time, she brought different equipment, along with her cameras and sensors. She carried a bag of smooth stones and a small device that could create precise measurements. If the Kelthan was truly intelligent, she would try to communicate with it using mathematics. Choi Min-ho was not happy about her second trip. Doctor, you are taking too many risks. This creature could attack at any moment. I will be careful, Nari promised. I am staying far away from it. I just want to test something. Return to the same hiding spot behind the rocks. The Kelthon was not there, but its stone pattern remained exactly as it had been the day before. Nari studied it more carefully and realized it was even more complex than she had first thought. The creature had created a scale model of the solar system. Each stone represented a planet, and their positions matched the actual locations of the planets at this time of year. The mathematical precision was incredible. Nari set up her equipment and waited.
Pass.
After 2 hours, the Kelthon appeared again. This time it went straight to its stone pattern and began making small changes. It moved 3 stones to new positions, then stepped back to look at its work. Nara checked her planetary calculator. The creature had just updated the pattern to show how the planets would be positioned in 2 days. It was predicting planetary movement with perfect accuracy. Her heart raced with excitement. This was proof that the creature understood advanced mathematics and astronomy. But she needed to be sure. She needed to test whether it could understand new mathematical concepts. When the Kelthon left, Nari approached the stone pattern carefully. She had to be very quiet and quick. Using her own stones, she created a simple pattern next to the creature's complex one. She arranged the stones to show basic addition. 2 stones plus 3 stones equals 5 stones. Then she retreated to her hiding place and waited. The next morning, she returned with Yoon-gi-won. The communications officer had volunteered to help document any interactions. "Are you sure about this?" Yoon-gi-won asked as they hiked through the forest. "What if the creature becomes angry that someone touched its pattern?" "That is a risk we have to take," Nari replied. "If we are right about its intelligence, it might be curious rather than angry." They reached the observation point and looked toward the stone patterns. Both women gasped at the same time. The Kelthon had responded to Nara's simple math problem. Next to her addition pattern, it had created a multiplication pattern, then a division pattern, then something that looked like a complex equation about geometric shapes. "It understood," Yoon-gwon whispered. "It actually understood and responded." They documented everything carefully. The creature's mathematical knowledge was far beyond what they had expected. It seemed to understand concepts that human children did not learn until high school. Over the next few days, Nari and Yoon-gwon established a routine. They would visit the stone patterns each morning, leave a new mathematical problem, and return the next day to see the creature's response. The Kelthon always answered correctly and usually added its own more complex problems. The communication became more sophisticated each day. The creature began using different colored stones to represent different types of information. Red stones meant danger, blue stones meant water, green stones meant living things. But the most amazing discovery came on the 5th day. The Kelthon had created a detailed map of the entire solar system using its colored stones. But this map included things that the research station's sensors had not detected. "Look at this," Nari said, pointing to a cluster of red stones positioned beyond the outer planets. "It is showing something dangerous approaching from outside the solar system." Yoon-gwon checked the station's long-range sensors. "There is nothing there. Our equipment shows empty space." "Maybe our equipment is not sensitive enough," Nari suggested. "Or maybe the creature can sense things we cannot." They brought the information back to the research station. The team meeting did not go well. "This is ridiculous," Dr. Lee Daeho said. "You are saying this animal can predict space threats better than our advanced sensors." "I am saying it is trying to warn us about something," Nari replied. "Look at the mathematical precision of its communications. This creature is intelligent." Captain Park Hyeon studied the photos carefully. "Even if it is intelligent, how could it know about threats in space? It lives on a planet's surface. Maybe. Its species has natural abilities we do not understand, Doctor," Kong Sora suggested. "Many animals can sense things humans cannot." Choi Minho shook his head. "Or maybe it is setting a trap. What if this creature is working with other aliens? What if it is trying to make us lower our guard?" The team remained divided. Dr. Lee Daeho and Choi Minho thought the creature was dangerous and possibly deceptive. Captain Park Hyeon was uncertain. Only Yoon-gwon, Dr. Kong Sora, and the junior researcher Kim Joo-in seemed to believe Nara's theory. That evening, Nara felt discouraged. She had proof that the creature was intelligent, but she could not convince the team to take its warning seriously. She decided to try a different approach. The next morning she brought a simple drawing instead of a mathematical problem. She drew a picture of herself in the dirt next to the stone patterns. It was just a basic stick figure, but she hoped the creature would understand that it represented her. When she returned the following day, she found something that made her cry with joy. The Kelthon had drawn its own picture next to hers. The drawing was much more detailed and artistic than her simple stick figure. It showed the creature standing next to a small human figure, and both figures were surrounded by protective symbols. It understands friendship, Nari told Yunjuan. It knows I am trying to communicate, and it wants to communicate back. But the most important discovery was yet to come. Next to the drawings, the creature had created a new warning pattern. This time, it used many red stones to show that the danger was getting closer. The pattern suggested that whatever was approaching would arrive in less than 30 days. Nari knew she had to convince the team to take this warning seriously. She had an idea that might work. I want to try direct contact, she told Yunguan. What do you mean? Want to be there when the creature comes to check the patterns? I want to see if it will communicate with me in person. Yunjuan looked worried. It is extremely dangerous. What if you are wrong about its intentions? I have to try, Nari said. If it really is trying to warn us about a threat, we need to understand what it is telling us. Time might be running out. The next morning, Nari took the biggest risk of her life. Instead of hiding behind the rocks, she sat openly next to the stone patterns and waited. When the Kelthon appeared, it stopped and stared at her. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Nari could see the creature's scales changing colors rapidly, cycling through blues and greens and purples. Then something amazing happened. The creature approached slowly and sat down across from her. It pointed to the warning pattern it had created, then pointed to the sky. Its scales turned deep red, the color it used to indicate danger. Nari nodded to show she understood. The creature's scales shifted to a lighter blue, which seemed to indicate relief. It had been trying to warn them, and finally, someone was listening. The creature began creating a new pattern in the dirt between them. This one was more detailed than any before. It showed the approaching danger as a fleet of ships, not just a single threat. The pattern suggested that these ships were still far away, but coming fast. Nari felt a chill run down her spine. If the creature was right, they were facing an invasion. It's not just a single dangerous visitor. She had to convince the team to take this warning seriously. Their lives might depend on it. Dr. Kim Nari spent the next week meeting with the Kelthon every morning. Their communication grew stronger each day. The creature was learning to understand human gestures, and Nari was getting better at reading the meaning behind its color changes. During one of their meetings, the creature did something that amazed her. It began drawing symbols in the dirt that looked like written language. The symbols were complex, with curves and lines that seemed to flow together like music. When Nari tried to copy one of the symbols, the creature made a sound that might have been laughter. The creature pointed to itself and drew a specific symbol. Then it pointed to the sky and drew the same symbol, surrounded by many others. Nari realized it was trying to tell her its name and something about its people. She decided to call the creature Hanel, which meant sky in Korean. When she said the name while pointing to the creature, its scales turned a warm golden color. It seemed to like the name. Hanel began teaching Nari more about its language. Each symbol represented not just a word, but a complete idea or feeling. The creatures. People did not just speak with sounds like humans did. They communicated through colors, symbols, and even the way they moved their bodies through these lessons. Nari learned that Hanal was not just intelligent, but also very old. The creature had lived for over 300 years. It had watched the seasons change hundreds of times and had seen many different kinds of creatures come, go on the planet. But the most important thing she learned was that Hanola was sad. Its scales often turned dark blue or gray, colors that seemed to mean loneliness or grief. Through careful questioning with symbols and gestures, Nari discovered that Hanol was the last of its kind on this planet. Long ago, there had been many creatures like Hanol. They had lived in harmony with the planet and had been its guardians. But something terrible had happened. Hanel drew pictures of great fires in the sky and ships that came from the stars. Its people had been destroyed by visitors from space. Nar felt her heart break as she understood the creature's story. Hanel had been alone for over 50 years, protecting a planet that no longer held any of its own kind. It had continued its duty as a guardian, even though it had no family left. When Nari returned to the research station that evening, she was more determined than ever to make the team understand. She called for an emergency meeting and presented everything she had learned. "The creature has a name," she announced. "It calls itself something that roughly translates to Guardian of the Deep Songs. I call it Hanol." Dr. Lee Daeho rolled his eyes. "Dr. Kim, you are becoming too emotionally attached to this animal. It is affecting your judgment." "It is not an animal," Nari said firmly. "It is a person. It has language, culture, and feelings. It has been trying to warn us about a real threat, and we need to listen." "You are calling it a person now?" Choi Minho asked with disbelief. "Dr. Kim, this creature killed 12 people. It is a monster." "Was defending its territory," Nari replied. "How would you react if strangers came to your home and started taking things without asking permission?" Captain Park Hyen looked worried.
Dr. Kim.
"I am concerned about your psychological state. Perhaps you should take a break from this research." "I am fine," Nari insisted. "I am thinking more clearly than I have ever thought before. This creature is trying to save our lives, and you are all too stubborn to see it." The argument continued. For an hour, Dr. Lee Daeho suggested that Nari needed a psychological evaluation. Choi Min-ho recommended that all contact with the creature should be stopped immediately. Only Yoon Gi-won and Dr. Kang Sora supported Nari's position. "I have seen the mathematical communications," Yoon Ji-won said. "No animal could create such complex patterns. Dr. Kim is right about the creature's intelligence." "Intelligence does not mean it is friendly," Dr. Lee Daeho argued. "Some of the most dangerous creatures in the universe are intelligent." That night Nari had trouble sleeping. She felt frustrated and alone. The next morning she went to meet Hanul as usual, but her mood was dark. Hanul seemed to sense her sadness immediately. The creature's scales turned soft purple, a color that Nari had learned meant concern or sympathy. Hanul approached her slowly and made gentle sounds. Then something unexpected happened. Nari began to cry. All the stress and frustration of the past weeks came out at once. She sobbed as she told Hanul about her problems with the research team. To her amazement, Hanul responded with what could only be described as comfort. The creature sat beside her and made soft humming sounds. Its scales shifted through calming, colors like pale blue and gentle green. It even reached out with one massive hand and gently touched her shoulder. In that moment, Nari realized that Hanul truly cared about her. Despite being from completely different species, they had formed a real friendship. She felt the same protective feeling toward Hanul that she felt toward her own family. "You are like a brother to me," she whispered to the creature. Hanul's scales turned bright gold, and it made a sound that was definitely happy. It seemed to understand the word brother, or at least the feeling behind it. From that day forward, their relationship changed. It was no longer just communication between researcher and subject. It was a friendship between two beings who cared about each other. Hanul began showing Nari more personal things. He took her to a special cave where it had carved symbols into the walls. The symbols told the story of its people and their history. Some of the carvings were thousands of years old. The creature also showed her the remains of its people's technology. Hidden in the cave were strange devices that looked like they were made from both metal and living tissue. Hanul explained through symbols that these devices had once been used to protect the planet from space threats. "This is how you know about the danger coming," Nari realized. "Your people's technology is still working." Hanul's scales turned bright blue, which meant yes. The creature led her to a device that looked like a mix between a telescope and a tree. When Hanul touched it, the device glowed softly and showed images of space. Nari could see the approaching fleet clearly now. There were dozens of ships, all moving toward their solar system. The ships were strange-looking, with surfaces that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "How long do we have?" Nari asked. Hanel created a symbol pattern that meant 20 days. The fleet would arrive in less than 3 weeks. When Nari brought this information back to the research station, the team's reaction was even worse than before. "Now you are claiming this creature has magical technology?" Dr. Lee Dae-ho said with disgust. "Dr. Kim, you have completely lost touch with reality." "I am scheduling a psychological evaluation for you tomorrow," Captain Park Hyan announced. "Until then, you are forbidden from returning to the planet's surface." Nari felt desperate. She knew that Hannah was telling the truth about the approaching danger, but she could not convince anyone to believe her. The creature had become like family to her, and she was the only one who could understand its warnings. That night, she made a difficult decision. She would have to disobey orders and find a way to prove that Hanel was right. If she could not convince the team with words, she would have to show them proof they could not ignore. The next morning, instead of reporting for her psychological evaluation, Nari stole a small transport ship and flew to the planet's surface. She was risking her career and possibly her life, but she could not abandon her alien brother. When she reached Hanuel's cave, the creature was waiting for her. Its scales were deep red, the color of worry and fear. It had somehow sensed that she was in trouble. "I need your help," Nari said. "We have to find a way to make my people believe you. If we cannot work together, everyone will die when those ships arrive." Then Cheval's scales shifted to gold, then to bright blue. It understood the urgency of the situation. The creature began. Activating more of its people's ancient technology, Nari realized that she and Hanel were now partners in a race against time. They had to save both their species from a threat that was approaching fast, and they had to do it without help from anyone else. She looked at the massive creature that had become her brother and felt both fear and determination. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. Dr. Kim Nari stood in Hanuel's cave watching the ancient technology come to life. The devices glowed with soft light as the creature touched them with its massive hands. Images appeared in the air, showing the space around their solar system. The approaching fleet was closer now. Nari could see details that made her blood run cold. The ships were enormous, each one bigger than Research Station Harmony. Their surfaces looked like they absorbed light and energy from everything around them. "What are they?" Nari asked Hanel. The creature's scales turned black, a color she had never seen before. Through symbols and gestures, Hanel told her a terrible story. These beings called themselves the Devourers. They traveled from star to star, consuming all the energy they could find. They had destroyed Hanuel's civilization and countless others. Meanwhile, back at Research Station Harmony, alarms began ringing. Captain Park Hyan rushed to the main control room, where Yoon Guan was staring at her instruments with shock. "Captain, our long-range sensors are detecting something," Yoon Jawan reported. Multiple objects approaching from outside the solar system. Dr. Lee Dae-ho pushed past other researchers to look at the readings. His face went pale as he saw the data. "That is impossible. There should be nothing out there."
Captain Park.
Hyan studied the sensor displays. Dozens of large objects were moving toward them at incredible speed. "How long until they reach us?" "Based on their current speed, 18 days, Yoon Guan answered. Choi Minho activated the station's defense systems. "Captain, our weapons are not designed to fight a fleet this size. We need to call for help from Earth immediately." "Already sending the distress signal," Yoon Guan confirmed. "But Earth is 47 days away at best speed." Dr. Lee Dae-ho sat down heavily in a chair. Dr. Kim was right. The creature was trying to warn us. "Where is Dr. Kim, Captain Park?" Hyan asked suddenly. She was supposed to report for psychological evaluation this morning. Choi Minho checked his security monitors. "Sir, one of our transport ships is missing. Dr. Kim took it without authorization." On the planet's surface, Nari watched Hanel work with the ancient technology. The creature was trying to activate defense systems that had been sleeping for decades. Some of the devices responded, but others remained dark and lifeless. Hanel showed her images of what the Devourers had done to other worlds. Planets stripped of all life and energy, left as dead rocks floating in space. The creatures fed on star energy, but also consumed the life force of living beings. "How did your people fight them before?" Nari asked. Hanel's response was both hopeful and frightening. The ancient civilization had built planetary defense systems that could protect entire worlds, but the technology required both biological and mechanical components to work. It needed a living guardian like Hanel, and advanced computing power like humans possessed. Nari realized what Hanel was suggesting. "You want me to help you operate the defense system?" Creature's scales turned bright blue. "Yes." Back on the station, Captain Park Hyen was trying to coordinate an evacuation plan. But the approaching fleet was too fast. It would never be able to escape in time. "It's her. Incoming transmission from the planet's surface," Yoon Jawan announced. Narice's voice came through the speakers. "Research Station Harmony, this is Dr. Kim. I know you can see the approaching fleet now. Hanel was right. They're called the Devourers, and they will destroy everything in this system unless we work together. Dr. Kim, return to the station immediately," Captain Park Hyen ordered. "You are in violation of direct orders." "Captain, I cannot return yet. Hanel is showing me technology that might save us all. But we need the station's computing power to make it work." Dr. Lee Dae-ho grabbed the communication device. "Dr. Kim, even if this creature is intelligent, how can we trust alien technology? What if it is a trap?" "Because Hanel's people fought these Devourers before," Nari replied. "They know how to defeat them. But the creature cannot do it alone. It needs our help." On her end of the communication, Nari could hear arguing voices in the background. The research team was still divided about whether to trust her and Hanul. Hanul approached one of the larger devices and activated it. Suddenly, the cave filled with a holographic display showing the approaching fleet in perfect detail. The images were far clearer than anything the station's sensors could produce. "Look at your sensors now," Nari told the station, sharing its scanner data with you. Back on the station, everyone stared at the main display in amazement. The images were incredibly detailed, showing not just the ships, but also their energy signatures and weapon systems. "How is this possible?" Dr. Kang Sora whispered. "The creature's technology is more advanced than ours," Nari explained. "The communication system. Its people were space travelers long before humans existed." Captain Park Hyen studied the detailed images of the enemy fleet. The ships carried weapons that could destroy planets and energy collectors that could drain entire stars. "What do they want?" "Everything," Nari answered. "They will consume all the energy in this solar system, including our sun. Then they will move on to the next system." The first Devourer scout ships entered the outer edge of the solar system. Immediately, they began draining energy from the outer planets. The station's instruments showed that the gas giants were losing their atmospheric energy at an alarming rate. "We have to evacuate," Choi Minho insisted. "Our weapons cannot fight something like this." "Where can we go?" Dr. Kong Sora asked. "If they can drain entire solar systems, nowhere will be safe." Nari's voice came through the speakers again. "Hanul says the defense system can work, but only if we combine human and alien technology. The creature cannot operate it alone, and our computers cannot interface with the biological components." "What are you asking us to do?" Captain Park Hyen asked. "Trust me. Trust Hanel. Come to the planet's surface and help us activate the defense system. It is our only chance." Dr. Lee Dae-ho shook his head. "This is insane. We would be risking everything on the word of an alien creature." But as they watched the Devourer ships continue their advance, consuming energy from everything in their path, the team realized they had no other choice. Their weapons were useless against such a massive force. Earth was too far away to help. The alien defense system was their only hope. "Dr. Kim," Captain Park Hyen said finally, "we are coming down to the planet. But if this is a trap, we are all dead anyway." "It is not a trap," Nari promised. "Hanel wants to save this world as much as we do. It has been protecting this planet for 50 years, waiting for someone who could help it fight back." As the research team prepared to leave the station, the Devourer fleet continued its approach. They had 15 days to make the alien defense system work, or everything they knew and loved would be consumed by the hungry. Darkness from space. The real battle was about to begin. The entire research team landed on the planet's surface 12 hours later.
Captain Park
Hyen,
Dr. Lee Daeho, Jun Choi Minho, Dr. Kong Sora.
and junior researcher Kim Jujan all followed Nari through the forest to Haniel's cave. When they saw the massive creature for the first time up close, everyone except Nari stepped backward. Hanel was even more impressive in person than in the recordings. Its crystal scales reflected the light from their equipment, creating rainbow patterns. On the cave walls, "Stay calm," Nari told them. Hanul can sense fear and aggression. It will not hurt anyone unless it feels threatened. Hanuel's scales were currently a deep blue color, which Nari had learned meant caution and worry. The creature was as nervous about meeting the humans as they were about meeting it. "Hello, Hanul," Dr. Kang Sora said softly. "Thank you for trying." To help us, the creature's scales shifted to a lighter blue, then to pale green. It was beginning to relax. Dr. Lee Daeho stared at the ancient technology surrounding them. Devices that looked like living trees grew from the cave walls. Strange computers made of crystal and metal hummed with energy. Everything glowed with soft, organic light. "This is incredible," he whispered. "The technology is biological and mechanical." At the same time, Hanul approached the main control system and began activating it. The cave filled with holographic displays showing the approaching Devourer fleet. The enemy ships were now only 10 days away. "Hanul says the defense system has 3 parts," Nari explained as she translated the creature's gestures and color changes. "First, energy shields that can protect the entire planet. Second, weapons that can fight the Devourer ships. A communication system that can call for help from other civilizations." Captain Park Hyen studied the displays. "What do we need to do to make it work?" Hanul pointed to a chair-like device in the center of the cave. The chair was grown from the same biomechanical material as the other equipment. Tubes and wires extended from it like the roots of a tree. "The system needs a biological operator," Nari continued translating. "Someone has to connect directly with the technology. But it also needs computational power that only human computers can provide." "You want someone to plug into this alien machine?" Choi Minho asked with concern. "What if it hurts them?" Haniel's scales turned golden, and it made gentle sounds. Through symbols drawn in the dirt, it explained that the connection would not cause harm, as people had used the system safely for thousands of years. "I will do it," Nari volunteered immediately. "Absolutely not," Captain Park Hyen said. "We do not know what this technology will do to a human mind." "Someone has to try," Nari argued. "And I am the only one who can communicate with Hanul. Something goes wrong, I can tell the creature to disconnect me." Dr. Kong Sora examined the biomechanical chair carefully. "The technology appears to be designed for direct neural interface. This could be dangerous, but it might also be our only chance." While the humans debated, Hanul worked to prepare the defense system. The creature moved from device to device, awakening technology that had slept for decades. Some systems came online immediately, while others required careful adjustment and repair. Yunguan connected her portable computers to the alien systems. Using cables and adapters, to everyone's amazement, the human and alien technologies began working together almost immediately. "The compatibility is incredible," she reported. "It is like this system was designed to work with multiple species." "Maybe it was," Dr. Lee Daeho said thoughtfully. "If Haniel's people fought the Devourers across many star systems, they would have encountered different civilizations. They might have built their technology to work with various types of minds and computers." The Devourer fleet continued its advance. Their scout ships had already begun attacking the outer planets, draining energy from their atmospheres and magnetic fields. The station's long-range sensors showed that the gas giant planets were losing mass at an alarming rate. "We are running out of time," Captain Park Hyen said. "We are going to try this. We need to do it now." Nari approached the biomechanical chair. Anal moved beside her, its scales shifting through calming colors. The creature placed one massive hand gently on her shoulder in a gesture of support and friendship. "If this goes wrong, disconnect me immediately," Nari told the team. She sat in the chair and felt the biomechanical connections beginning to activate. Soft tendrils extended from the chair and touched her temples.
At first she felt nothing.
Unusual. Then, gradually, she became aware of new sensations. She could feel the planet beneath her, sensing its magnetic field and energy flows. She could detect the approaching devourer ships as dark spots against the bright energy of space. Most amazingly, she could sense Hanuel's mind connected to hers through the system. The creature's thoughts were different from human thoughts, but not alien in a frightening way. Hanuel's mind was vast and ancient, filled with memories of its people and deep knowledge of the universe. But it was also kind and protective, driven by a fierce desire to guard life against those who would destroy it. Working together through the biomechanical interface, Nari and Hanel began activating the planetary defense system. Energy shields flickered to life around the planet, powered by geothermal energy from the planet's core. Weapon systems that had been hidden beneath the surface began to emerge. "It is working," Yun Jiwan reported excitedly. "The energy readings are incredible. The shields are stronger than anything we have ever seen." But as the defense system came online, the Devourer fleet detected the activation. The enemy ships changed course and began moving faster toward the planet. They had realized that their prey was preparing to fight back. "They know we are here now," Captain Park Hyan said grimly. "How long until they arrive?" Through the biomechanical interface, Nari and Hanel calculated the enemy's new approach speed. 6 days, Nari announced. Maybe less. The main Devourer fleet was massive. Hundreds of ships, each one capable of destroying entire cities. Their energy-draining weapons could consume the life force of every living thing on a planet. They had conquered countless civilizations and consumed the energy of thousands of star systems. But Hanuel's people had fought them before and won. The defense system was designed specifically to counter Devourer technology. The biomechanical weapons could disrupt the enemy's energy-draining abilities, and the planetary shields could protect against their most powerful attacks. "Can we really win against so many ships?" Dr. Kong Sora asked. Through the neural link, Hanel showed Nari memories of the last great battle between its people and the Devourers. The fight had lasted for days, with energy weapons lighting up the space around multiple planets. In the end, Hanuel's people had driven the Devourers away, but at a terrible cost. Most of the Guardians had died in the battle. Hanuel's people won before, but they lost almost everything, Nari reported to the team. "The creature has been alone ever since, waiting for the Devourers to return. But now it is not alone," Dr. Lee Deho said, his voice filled with new respect for the creature. "We will fight beside it." Hanuel's scales turned bright gold at these words. For the first time in 50 years, the creature was not facing the enemy alone. The team worked frantically to prepare for the coming battle. Yoon Gi-wan integrated the station's computers with the alien defense system, multiplying its computational power. Choi Min-ha studied the weapon systems and learned how to target enemy ships. Dr. Kong Sora prepared medical supplies in case anyone was injured during the neural interface process. Even Dr. Lee Deho, who had been the most skeptical about Hanuel's intelligence, began working closely with the creature. He helped repair damaged sections of the defense system and marveled at the sophisticated technology. "I owe you an apology," he told Nari during a brief rest period. "You were right about everything. This creature is not a monster. It is a hero." As the Devourer fleet approached, Nari remained connected to the defense system, sharing consciousness with Hanel. She could feel the creature's determination and courage, but also its fear. The last time Hanel had fought the Devourers, it had watched its entire civilization die. "We will not let that happen again," Nari promised, through their mental link. Hanuel's response was filled with gratitude and hope, for the first time in decades. The ancient Guardian believed that victory might be possible. The battle for the survival of all life in the solar system was about to begin. The Devourer fleet arrived 3 days earlier than expected. Through the biomechanical interface, Nari felt them enter the solar system like a wave of darkness washing over everything. Her ships immediately began draining energy from the sun itself, causing solar flares and electromagnetic storms. "They are here," Nari announced through the neural link. Her voice echoed strangely because she was speaking through both human vocal cords and Hanuel's alien communication system. Captain Park Hyan activated the emergency protocols. All stations to battle readiness. Dr. Kim, can you and Hanuel activate the shields? Working together through their shared consciousness, Nari and Hanel brought the planetary defense shields to full power. A shimmering barrier of energy surrounded the entire planet, protecting it from the Devourer's initial energy-draining attacks. The enemy fleet spread out around the planet, testing the shields with probing attacks. Each Devourer ship was enormous. Bigger than any human spacecraft, their hulls were black as space itself, designed to absorb energy from any source. 237 ships. Yoon Giwon reported from her sensor station. Energy signatures unlike anything in our databases. Through Hanuel's memories, Nari could see that this fleet was even larger than the one that had destroyed the creature's civilization. The Devourers had grown stronger over the decades, consuming more worlds and adding their energy to their own power. The first major attack came without warning. 50 Devourer ships focused their energy weapons on one section of the planetary shield. The barrier held, but Nari could feel the strain through the biomechanical interface. The shields were strong, but they could not withstand focused attacks forever. We need to fight back, Nari told the team. If we just defend, they will eventually break through. Hanel activated the weapon systems that had been hidden beneath the planet's surface. Massive energy cannons emerged from concealed positions around the globe. The weapons were biomechanical like everything else. Grown from living crystal and metal, the first shots from the planetary weapons struck 3 Devourer ships. The alien cannons fired beams of pure life energy, the opposite of the death energy that the Devourers used. When the beams hit their targets, the enemy ships writhed and twisted as if in pain. "It is working," Dr. Lideho shouted excitedly. The weapons are designed to counter their energy-draining abilities. But the Devourers adapted quickly. They began moving in complex patterns, making themselves harder to target. Their return fire was devastating. Energy beams that could drain. The life from entire cities struck the planetary shields repeatedly. Through the neural interface, Nari felt every impact like a physical blow. Hana was absorbing much of the strain, but the creature was already beginning to weaken. The biomechanical systems required enormous amounts of energy to operate, and most of that energy came from Hanuel's own life force. "The creature is hurting itself to protect us," Dr. Kong Sora observed, watching Hanuel's vital signs on her medical equipment. "I can help," Nari said. Through the neural link, she began sharing her own energy with Hanuel. The connection between human and alien minds grew stronger, allowing them to operate the defense system more efficiently. The battle continued for hours. Planetary weapons destroyed dozens of Devourer ships, but more kept coming. The enemy seemed to have endless reserves, while the planet's defenses were slowly wearing down. Then the Devourer command ship arrived. It was a monster among monsters. 10 times larger than the other ships, its hull was covered in energy absorption panels that glowed with the stolen power of 1,000 worlds. When it fired its main weapon, the blast was so powerful that it cracked the planetary shields. "Shields at 60% and falling," Yoon Giwon reported. Through their shared consciousness, Nari and Hanel realized that conventional defense would not be enough. The command ship was too powerful. It was draining energy from the planet's shields faster than they could be repaired. Hanel made a decision that terrified Nari. The creature began disconnecting itself from the safety of the cave's biomechanical systems. It was going to leave the protection of the underground facility and face the enemy directly. "Oh," Nari said through their mental link. "It is too dangerous. You will be exposed." But Hanuel's mind was filled with determination. Its people had made the ultimate sacrifice to protect life in the universe. Now it was the creature's turn to continue that tradition. Hanel emerged from the cave and stood on the planet's surface. Its massive form was clearly visible to the Devourer fleet above. The creature's crystal scales blazed with brilliant light. As it channeled energy directly from the planet's core, the Devourers immediately focused their attacks on Hanel. Energy beams designed to drain life struck the creature repeatedly. But instead of weakening, Hanel seemed to grow stronger. The creature was using its own body as a conductor, drawing power from the planet itself and reflecting it back at the enemy. "It is incredible," Dr. Kong Sora whispered. The creature is turning itself into a living weapon.
Oh.
Through the neural interface, Nari felt Haniel's pain and determination. The creature was suffering tremendous damage, but it refused to give up. Every blast from the enemy made Haniel more resolved to protect the world it had guarded for so long. Nari made her own desperate decision. She disconnected from the biomechanical chair and ran toward the cave entrance. I have to help Haniel. I cannot do this alone. Dr. Kim, wait, Captain Park Hyan called. But she was already gone. Nari emerged onto the planet's surface and saw Haniel standing like a pillar of light against the darkness of space. The creature's scales were blazing so brightly that they hurt to look at directly. Energy beams from hundreds of Devourer ships struck the creature continuously, but Haniel endured them all. When Haniel saw Nari approaching, its scales flickered with worry. The creature did not want its human friend to be in danger. "We are family," Nari shouted over the noise of the battle. "We fight together." She placed her hands on Haniel's massive leg and felt the neural connection reestablish itself. But this time, instead of connecting through machines, they were linked directly through touch and willpower. The bond between them had grown so strong that they no longer needed artificial interfaces. Together, human and alien minds focused all their energy into one massive counterattack. Haniel's body became a conduit for the planet's entire energy. Output: light erupted from the creature's scales and shot upward toward the Devourer command ship, the beam of pure life. Energy struck the command ship's energy absorption panels and overloaded them. For the first time in the battle, the massive vessel showed signs of damage. Explosions rippled across its hull as its own stolen energy turned against it. The other Devourer ships tried to protect their command vessel, but Haniel and Nari were just getting started. Working together, they began targeting the enemy's energy-draining systems one by one. Each shot disrupted the Devourer's ability to consume power, weakening their entire fleet. "The enemy ships are losing cohesion," Yoon Ji-won reported from the cave. "Their energy readings are dropping rapidly." The tide of battle was turning. Without their energy-draining abilities, the Devourer ships were much less dangerous. The planetary defense system began destroying enemy vessels faster than they could be replaced, but the effort was taking its toll on both Nari and Haniel. The creature's scales were beginning to dim, and Nari felt her own strength fading. They had given everything they had to protect the planet. The Devourer command ship made one final, desperate attack. It fired every weapon it had directly at Haniel and Nari. The energy beams were so powerful that they lit up the entire planet's surface, but the attack never reached them. The rest of the research team had emerged from the cave and were operating the planetary shields manually. Captain Park Hyan, Dr. Lee Dae-ho, Yoon Ji-won, Choi Min-ho, Dr. Kang Sora, and Kim Ju-yan all worked together to protect their friends. "We stand with you," Captain Park Hyan called out. Human and alien, fighting as one. Haniel's scales turned bright gold, the color of joy and gratitude. The creature had never imagined that beings from another world would risk their lives to help. With the team's support, Nari and Haniel launched their final attack. All the remaining energy of the planetary defense system focused into one devastating blast. The beam struck the Devourer command ship and tore through its hull like paper. The massive vessel exploded in a burst of stolen energy being released back into space. The explosion was so bright that it could be seen from other star systems. When the light faded, the command ship was gone. The remaining Devourer ships fled immediately. Without their command vessel and their energy-draining abilities, they were no match for the planetary defenses. Within hours, the entire enemy fleet had retreated to deep space. The battle was over. The solar system was safe. Haniel collapsed to the ground, exhausted but alive. Nari knelt beside the creature and felt their mental connection slowly fade as both of them recovered from the ordeal. "You did it," she whispered. "You saved everyone." Haniel's scales shifted to pale blue, the color of peace and contentment. For the first time in 50 years, the ancient guardian could rest. The planet was safe, and it was no longer alone. In the days that followed, Research Station Harmony was rebuilt as a permanent base for human-alien cooperation. Nari became the official ambassador between humans and Haniel. helping both species learn from each other. Hanal taught humans about advanced biomechanical technology and shared knowledge about other civilizations in the galaxy. In return, humans provided companionship and friendship that the creature had been missing for decades. The story of the battle against the Devourers spread throughout human space. Their alien civilizations heard about the victory and began making contact with both humans and Hanuel. The planet became a center for peaceful cooperation between many different species. Dr. Lee Daeho, who had once called Hanel a monster, now worked closely with the creature every day. Was wrong about everything. He admitted to Nari, intelligence, and friendship can exist in forms we never imagined. Captain Park Hyan established new protocols for first contact with alien species. Based on the lessons learned from Nara's relationship with Hanel, respect and understanding must come before fear and suspicion, he wrote in his official report. Nari often sat with Hanel in the evening, watching the stars and sharing thoughts through their continuing mental connection. The creature was no longer the last of its kind in terms of friendship and family. It had found a new people to protect and care for. "Thank you for teaching me about friendship across the stars," Nari said one evening. Hanuel's scales glowed softly with golden light. In the creature's mind, Nari felt a single, clear thought. "Thank you for showing me that family is not about species or biology. It is about love and loyalty and the willingness to fight for each other." The monster had become a brother, and the brother had saved them all.